And President Biden today commemorated the legacy of MLK by expanding the pool of Americans his administration considers to be domestic terrorists. Well, beyond just parents.
I've said it before, and all my colleagues here know it. According to the United States intelligence community, domestic terrorism from white supremacists is the most lethal terrorist threat in the homeland. To that end, our administration is carrying out the first ever comprehensive effort to tackle the threat.
Joining me now is Dinesh D'Souza, conservative commentator and filmmaker. Dinesh, what do you think of Biden focusing again, as he did during the campaign, on white supremacy as the biggest threat facing America today?
Well, I think that we've seen an escalating mode of argument. They started out by trying to say Trump was a white supremacist. Then they tried to say January 6th was motivated by white supremacy. Now they're saying that parents who mobilized at school board meetings to oppose critical race theory and a whole bunch of other issues, they're white supremacists and they're domestic terrorists. So what you see here is it's almost as if the national security state, driven by the intelligence agencies, is turning its sights away from Islamic terrorism, threats on the international scene, advances by China and technology and so on, and now turning its sights inward, in which domestic political opponents, dissenters, parents, dads and moms who are trying to defend ultimately their children's welfare, they are being demonized as domestic terrorists. It's pathetic.
Yeah, Merrick Garland today denied that. He said, we don't consider concerned parents who are angry at school board meetings to be domestic terrorists. So I think they know this is hurting them, but nevertheless, Biden dipped in and out of the white supremacist rhetoric and kept beating that drum today. He also decided to use this event today to go back to the well of questioning the integrity of our elections.
This struggle is no longer just over who gets to vote or making it easier for eligible people to vote. It's about who gets to count the votes, whether they should count at all. Jim Crow in the 21st century is now a sinister combination of voter suppression and election subversion.
Dinesh, what is he talking about here? I thought we weren't supposed to cast doubt on our elections.
I think we're listening to the kind of talk that you might expect, in a madhouse or maybe a faculty lounge. This makes absolutely no sense. Counting the votes, is there any attempt to stop people from counting a vote? No. What you really have is, remember, we have a country flooded by illegals. We know from the Maricopa audit that whatever the result, there were all kinds of processes that were violated. So the fact that states are taking steps to tighten up their procedures, make sure that only eligible people vote, this is now being described as Jim Crow. Imagine people who really suffered under Jim Crow, right? They couldn't, sit in a compartment or sit in a bus, or they had to drink out of a separate water fountain. They couldn't go to the same school. These are people now looking, and they're being told by their president that an ID voter requirement, for example, is the Jim Crow of the 21st century. It's a real insult to people who lived under Jim Crow.
Dinesh, thank you. Good to see you tonight.